Hey guys, another one-take review, and today I want to talk about the new Duster album, Together. Together is the fourth album from band Duster, whose heyday were definitely in the very late 90s and extremely early 2000s, and when I say that, I mean the year 2000, early 2000s, and since then they've kind of been radio silence, and they've remained as mysterious as they were back in the day when they were still performing. In fact, maybe they're a bit more mysterious now. That was until 2019, at least, when the band decided to make a sudden comeback with their third and self-titled album, which was a major deal for the scene that surrounds Duster, the scene that Duster is a part of, and ultimately that record ended up getting a lot of hype and a lot of praise. Together sees the project continue to hold up its very unknown background while continuing to make stabs at enchanting the listener with its sort of laid-back mysteriousness. As far as musicianship goes, I personally think Together is very lacking. Duster as a band is composed of members Clay Parton as well as Kanan Amber and maybe Jason Albertini. I don't really know. This band's insanely difficult to actually figure out the background of their lineup, who does what. Again, they're just a very, very strange band. Anyways, both Parton and Amber take on the roles of guitarists, drummers, etc. throughout the entirety of this record's runtime. It isn't that there's any sense of instrumental incompetence here, it's quite the opposite, actually. Together is performed as well as any slowcore album can really be. With that being said, the record kind of feels like it lacks any actual compositional substance. Try as I might, in terms of instrumentals at least, I find that there's frustratingly not anything to talk about on songs like Drifter, and really the majority of Together as an album is just a very bare bones and frankly uninteresting album as far as musicianship goes. There are also a number of songs here that just fall totally flat and they fail to spark any surge of emotion when they were obviously designed to do exactly that. A Duster album not trying to make you emotional with its lo-fi sound is like the new Weezer album trying to not actively be awful. It just isn't something that can reasonably happen. If it did, I mean, the time-space continuum would probably shatter. We'd all be sent into a gray, limitless void of emptiness that has no sense of any existence, and, I mean, the world would probably end. I don't think Duster's capable of doing anything that isn't both sentimental and melancholic depressive, which I'm fine with, personally, but at the same time, it does kind of feel like the band start repeating themselves after a little while. And although Duster have been very successful in doing that, making me emotional, not shattering the time-space continuum, it just feels like they're a little more emotionally shallow on this album, especially compared to previous releases like Stratosphere. For as much as songs like Familiar Fields obviously want me to get very worked up and moved and emotional when I listen to them, especially when I listen to them in the context of the album, I just simply don't, and it's not that I can't personally get emotional to an album. I'm actually prone to getting overly emotional to music sometimes, getting overly attached to music sometimes. It just so happens that this new Duster album kind of fails to achieve that, and it comes across as a band trying to make something extremely emotional while also completely not doing that. In fact, a lot of Together actually feels extremely disjointed. For example, you have songs like Teeth that are very smoothed out and polished, and they obviously benefit from the benefits of modern recording technology, something that the band's output during their original run certainly did not have. However, other songs like Making Room's lo-fi style, which does have its appeal on its own, are still cursed by the same sound quality that Duster had in the very late 90s and very early 2000s during their original run as some random indie act that didn't have over 1 million listeners on Spotify. And I understand that's a creative choice and that it's meant to sound like that, and I respect that. But I would have rather just had one album that sounded like that, like their older material, or one album that was just smooth and polished and different, one or the other. So the fact that they're throwing together both into this hodgepodge of an album doesn't really make sense to me. Generally speaking, although the overall quality of Duster's latest album is pretty consistent for the most part at least, I still feel like there's this strange looming sense of the album not actually knowing what era of the project it belongs in. I will say, at the very least, the songwriting from the aforementioned Parton and Amber is actually quite good. Much of the lyricism here isn't overly puzzling or pretentious, but is still cryptic enough that the listener can connect with it on a personal level and not feel alienated from the story that's being told. There's also a number of songs like Time Glitch that have very sentimental, moving lyrics that are quite isolating, but in their own unique way that is actually very, very beneficial to their sound overall, and certainly makes up for some more than lackluster instrumentals. All in all, the lyricism that comes from Duster and this project throughout together is kind of the antithesis of the instrumentation. Very consistently good and overall interesting, and something that I find poetically respectable. Overall, Together is a cute record upon first listen, but I really don't think there's much worth revisiting here. While it may be a solid choice as background noise while you lay in bed drifting off to sleep, questioning your life choices, as we all do, right? Right? It still feels like beyond the songwriting, there just isn't much substance here, and it kind of just comes across as a weaker attempt to capture Duster's glory days, and if anything, just go listen to Stratosphere, honestly. That's really the only essential Duster, in my eyes, at least. So with that being said, I'm going to give Together 3 stars out of 5. I think that could have been a lot better, but then again, I don't think I was really expecting anything better from the band either, so hey, what can you do? So 3 stars out of 5. And with that being said, is the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.